Yeah. So, could you describe to me like what you do exactly?
Sure. So I'm a marketing consultant.
Yeah.
I guess what I'll do is I'll just kind of step back a little bit to say that where my background is and
Sure.
where that led me to this. But I actually started. I dropped out of university. I went to U of C and I dropped out of the business program when I was 19,
Yeah.
and I started working in the oil patch. I was in sales and business development for a regulatory signage provider. So I traveled the prairie selling signs, essentially oil field signs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did that for about 6 years, and halfway through, I recognized that I could only, if I wanted to work anywhere else, I could only really sell because it was based on my experience. And so I started to kind of revisit the value of post-secondary education. So I went to Mount Royal and just started chipping away at a business degree, kind of one course at a time while I was working full time. I did half my degree that way and was burning out kind of from stress. So I made the decision to leave that job behind and go into school as a full-time student to finish my degree in 2.5 years rather than the 6 it would have taken me part-time.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had taken all of my general business classes with the exception of marketing. And I found that I was successful kind of no matter what I did, whether it was financial literacy or writing or that kind of thing. And I was scared of marketing because of the connotation to sales. I was trying to get away from that.
Yeah.
But I really loved the marketing program at Mount Royal. I loved the full-brained approach that it was taking, so left and right brain, both creative and then this strategy and evidence-based approach. I thought that was quite fascinating. And I also saw that I could leverage my background and experience in sales to be quite successful in marketing going forward. The remainder of my degree was mostly all of my marketing courses. And I loved both sides of it. Like I said, I love the strategic-based approach, evidence-based, and research. And I also really loved brand positioning and brand intelligence and design literacy. When I graduated, I had the opportunity to start working at Design for Change, which is a boutique marketing agency located on site at Mount Royal University. Its purpose is to provide employment and portfolio experience to students on campus, but it's a legitimate business. And so after a few months of working there, I was given the opportunity to take over management of the agency, and I did that for 2 years. So my tenure at Design for Change was 2.5 years, and about 2 of those was as managing director. When I left Design for Change, it was always meant to be transitionary, so to provide room for another a student or alumni to take my role, and also for me to actually move away from the university because I've been there so many years. I looked at the job market, and I thought the traditional path should be to get a job in marketing communications or that kind of thing. And the job market in this past summer was absolutely terrible. I found that the jobs I was applying for, primarily in marketing communications, I was up against senior VPs of marketing that needed a job, and so they were applying for entry-level positions as well.
Yeah.
So to kind of sustain my income, I was just picking up projects along the way. So I was applying for jobs, and I was picking up any type of marketing projects through my network. And I did get a job at a management consulting firm, but it just didn't feel right in my gut to start working there and lose all the experience I gained, especially managing and leading, and then step back into the beginning to an entry-level positions. As well, I had commitments for client contract projects that would take me through the rest of the year. So I decided to kind of throw caution to the wind and be an entrepreneur and develop my own kind of marketing consultancy. So as I went along from the summer, my projects, one was a research feasibility study for setting up an entrepreneurial hub for the community of Canmore. So a research project primarily and stakeholder engagement. Another one was Vivacity, so the 24-hour challenge that you participated in. They're doing that every year, and since I had helped to plan and manage that event, they contracted me to run this past year's event. Another one was a software project where they needed a client entry portal login kind of thing. And what I found, so I'm as I've been going along, I've just been taking on projects, but I've been also simultaneously trying to define what my value proposition is and the target market that I reach. So primarily, I consider myself a brand consultant and a branding expert. So I do brand positioning, and I develop a brand persona for my clients that identifies that positioning and the language, the themes, and that follows through into the various marketing assets they need to establish legitimacy for their marketing plans and strategies. The other thing I notice is that I've been primarily working with entrepreneurs, so early stage startups, in either doing research on their target market, their commercialization, or developing those kind of foundational brand assets. What the area I'm going to be moving into over the next few months is developing workshops for business owners and entrepreneurs, and to help them kind of understand their full business cycle and the gaps that they have. So typically entrepreneurs are the experts at the thing, whatever it is they're doing, but then there's all these layers that they're missing, so they need advisors and support for marketing or HR or legal or that kind of thing. Now, I'm not the expert for HR or legal, but what I recognize is kind of leaning a little bit heavier on the business degree side of it rather than just the marketing focus, to look at that kind of full cycle approach and develop workshops that support. So the group that I mentioned in Canmore, it's part of that contracted project that I'll develop workshops for, and then I'll try to take that forward in my own business, I think. But what I've noticed is that I've also been coaching through ATB for their booster nights. So I'll do pitch coaching and presentation coaching for them as well. So I see that I'm in this like incubator, accelerator space for entrepreneurs, and I find that area to be quite exciting. So you have to I always have to become an expert at whatever they are doing. So it's quite diverse, so to speak. So I provide market research, the brand positioning, and then marketing strategies for my clients.
Wow, that's cool. That was very in depth, actually. I could tell it all based around like entrepreneurship and
totally
building leaders, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it's ever changing, right? Your story changes over time, but if you can recognize those patterns and trends that naturally emerge, it kind of helps you see where you're more aligned towards, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's true. What would you say would be your mission statement, if you can put it in words?
My mission statement.
Or your why, yeah.
Yeah, so I believe very strongly in like Simon Sinek, start with why, right? Yeah. Why, then how, then what. And I'm trying to refine it now, but I have right now, by sharing your story, we seek to engage and captivate your audience in meaningful ways. Yeah. My purpose is to empower entrepreneurs with marketing and business intelligence.
Wow. It's very powerful, actually.
Oh.
I can tell, like, a common word that you like to use is story.
Yeah, I believe in storytelling. Yeah. And the value that has from brand, but also I think that's why, like from a human-centered approach, that's why people care about brands or products or services. They become engaged. It's the stories that you tell. You can tell that like I have my own story, and it's a part of this journey, right, that I've shared over time and helped to kind of refine. Yeah. Every brand has a story. Every entrepreneur has a story, and that's why people will care. Otherwise, everything is very flat. Nothing is different from each other. It doesn't matter. But also, like, storytelling is innate in human nature and civilization, right? So there's like 10 different themes of storytelling that emerge over time that still captivate us. That's why you see in movies, it's the remakes and it's the iterations and it's the comic books that are the most successful over time. It's because those same stories, you can retell them and they still have the same meaning.
Yeah, that's true. Huh. what were some of the struggles that were in your story, or some of the?
Yeah, fear is definitely a struggle. Your own, like, getting out of your own way to say that being an entrepreneur, that you can be successful, that you can take that risk, that you can invest in yourself. And business development is always a struggle. Making sure that you have kind of the next project. You have to complete the work along the way, but then you also have to have enough kind of in the cycle to make sure that it's sustaining itself over time, and there's a lot of risk there. But
Yeah.
the biggest one is just your own fear. There's natural dips that occur over time, like just for example, when at the end of this year and start of the new year, I found myself questioning, like, am I doing the right thing? Because I didn't have a lot on the go, because it's a natural dip during those couple of weeks when everything shuts down, and so I have to kind of push back past that and stay strong, because I always think of like sales and business development as planting seeds. If you keep planting seeds, you'll be surprised at what kind of emerges or comes back around.
Yeah.
And people will be advocating for you on their behalf. That you don't ever often realize it because it's behind the scenes, but you have to just kind of stay committed, have your goal, and then stay committed to it over time.
Yeah.
Also, it's a riskier path, and there will be naysayers along the way. There's going to be people that question whether you're doing the right thing, and so you have to kind of stay strong and committed going forward.
Yeah. Wow. Could you go more into the seeds?
Like planting seeds?
Yeah. Could you like describe a little bit?
Yeah, I just mean that, like, I've always been surprised at opportunities that have come back just from me putting in good effort over time, or connecting with people, or engaging. And you might not see that direct return on investment from going to a networking event. I hate networking. I hate networking events. I hate what they're about. But just by way of an example, by meeting. You don't often see that direct return on that investment, but 3-6 months down the line, I'll see that I did something in the past that resulted in somebody contacting me for work, or they thought of me for something, and I just love that. I love that idea, and that notion that just by I want to do good work, and I want to put in effort, and sometimes it's not always clear that there's that return, but it's always been worth it. Some things aren't gonna bloom, but many others do, for sure. So
yeah, that's true. Some of us want that short term, like right away. I want that return, right?
Yeah, it's the idea of instant gratification, right? And if you put that aside, or you find little ways to get that gratification that you need, but just recognize that it's just like head down. And it's all about goal setting, right? Like setting goals, having a vision, and then sticking to it. I don't have at this moment. I'm kind of at a crossroads. Do I want to build an agency, or do I want to build my own kind of profile? One is more scalable than the other, but it depends on what's more meaningful. Just to your point of one of the other challenges I've noticed in taking this path is that there's projects that I've said yes to that I shouldn't have because of that short-term kind of gain. And your reputation is so important that if you can't deliver quality on time, you might as well have not even taken the project on to begin with. And, sometimes it's more powerful to say no for whatever reason, and that was something that I had to learn. And also to do the things that you want to do. So it requires like a self-reflection and understanding your own like personal skills inventory and that kind of thing. But you will have to do types of work or types of projects that you don't always want to do, but you should always be gravitating more towards work that makes you happy and is fulfilling than work that's not, because a meaningful life versus not. And you can be successful when you're passionate. One of the things that people like the reason I got the Vivacity contract, the 24-hour challenge contract, is because of my passion. And people can see that I'm passionate in the way that I speak, or the way I'm thoughtful, or that kind of thing. And it's not tangible. It's not something that I can quantify. Like, how do you say what is passion or what is not? But I know that contract was awarded to me because I was very passionate about that cause, so I could be a strong leader